Welcome back to another Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet. Today, we have a very special guest joining us on a special early morning podcast. Well, I guess early morning for me, it's about mid-afternoon for you. We have Emma Jane. How's it going today?
Hello. Yeah, everything's good. Everything's
Good.
good. One o'clock in the afternoon here.
Yeah, it's I've gotten that the UK time difference down like that. Like I've interviewed so many people from England, Scotland. It's like, okay, 6 hours. There's a couple of times a year where like the time change kind of plays effect in it, but it's really not that bad. So but excited to have you on and excited to talk about the new album. So for anybody that's getting to meet you for the first time, you're based out of Scotland.
hmm
Uh, what was it like growing up for you? Did you grow up in a musical household? Just kind of, yeah.
Not a musical household. There was always music playing. So my mum has a very eclectic music taste. Um, and my dad, again, listens to very different things to my mum. So we were surrounded by music being played in the house and in the car. But my mum and dad, neither of them are musically blessed, shall we say. They don't play an instrument, they don't sing. However, my mum's mum, so that would be my granny Green, she was a singer, and my mum's side of the family, like her aunties and uncles, and they were all very musical. So they sang or they played instruments. So I think that's maybe where it comes from. But growing up, there wasn't. I always wanted instruments. I loved instruments since I can remember. So I always had like wee mini guitars and ukuleles, and I got my first guitar when I was 7, um, but I never get lessons, so I didn't learn how to play it. And my dad's advice, if this gives you an idea of how uh, musically knowledgeable my dad is, he told me that I could only strum down because if I strummed up, I would break a string. So that was my first guitar lesson. So for years, I thought you could only strum down. Um, but yeah, I taught myself guitar when I was in my late teens, I think. So maybe
Mm,
about 18, 19.
okay.
I really started to learn guitar off the internet. Um,
You're not the first person to tell me that they learned how to play guitar off the internet. It's one of those things where I'm sure there's somebody sitting in their den or in their living room or in their car hearing this. Like, I've spent years and thousands of dollars taking guitar lessons, and now they could just learn it on the internet.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, there's
uh,
there's benefits to having actual lessons.
yeah,
But I love to sing, so I just wanted something to allow me to sing.
gotcha.
Um,
So you started singing before you started playing guitar, correct?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I started writing songs before I started playing guitar as well. And quite often, so most of my songs don't actually start off with an instrument.
Hmm.
So they start off in my head, and I have the melody, I have the lyrics, and then I add in the guitar afterwards to build on it. But there's only a handful of songs that I've ever written that have started on the guitar.
Yeah.
Um, and I've started learning the piano again from online things. So I've written 2 songs that have started on the piano, but most of my songs, and it might be because that's how I began writing. I wrote my first song that I remember writing down at again, the same kind of age I got the guitar, so around
Hmm.
7. Um, and they always start off in my head. So I think that's maybe why I've kind of just stuck with that process.
Gotcha. So what when you were writing before you learned how to play the guitar and piano and stuff of that nature, were you listening to like instrumentals or were you just writing lyrics and kind of guessing at that point?
Um, Writing, I always had the melody in my head,
Okay.
so I
Okay.
knew like I could sing it, and then I would have words to go with it, and I would write it down. The trouble is, I didn't have an instrument to kind of
Yeah.
like nail it down, like cement it all in. So all of those songs like that I wrote from that early age right up into the point where I started learning guitar disappeared. So I didn't have them. I didn't keep them. They were just, they were in the moment of writing, and I enjoyed the process, but I didn't keep any of them. It'd be
Gotcha.
interesting to go back and see what I was writing about as a 7-year-old.
Right. I was going to ask because that's always been like an interesting thought that I'm surprised more musicians don't do is even going back to some of their younger writings, even when they're messing around as a kid, I'm sure there's a nugget of something that they could like reuse, whether it's a single line or a melody or, like something. And, in a lot of situations, a lot of people are just, they didn't record it or they didn't write it down. And so it was just kind of like something they did out of habit as a kid. But I always thought that would be kind of uh, an interesting situation where it's like you release an album called like Revisiting 12 or something, and you just revisit all the songs you wrote when you were like a little kid.
No, that sounds like a great idea. I've got two children now. I've got an
Mm,
8-year-old and I've got a 5-year-old, and they've always kind of. I think all children do it. I think we just maybe don't notice it as much unless you're kind of invested in it.
mhm,
But they've like like nursery songs. My eldest, from when she started singing them, like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and things like that, she would always make up her own lyrics to it. So she was always reinventing like familiar songs and tunes.
mhm,
So what I've actually started to do is where I record my songs on my phone, I have a folder for them so that when they come up with little ideas, I record what they're doing just now for them to look back on, because I didn't have that.
yeah, yeah, that's a great idea. That's, it whether they pursue music or not, in the like, even if this is just something that they're doing now because it's just coming natural, having that to look at as they grow up and just kind of as a mental keepsake or just like a keepsake in general, that's a really good idea because it's not always the photo, the video. Sometimes kids say there's a TV show here in the States called Kids Say the Darndest Things,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what that is. So,
Uh,
oh, but so I definitely think that's really cool. And like if they go into music or not, it's something cool to have.
yeah.
So, um, as now that you're um releasing music, you just released an album back in January. When
Mhm.
did you start, like, I guess before we get to the album, when did you start releasing music?
Oh, a long time ago. So my first, uh, so I recorded my first album or my first EP in
Mm,
2008.
okay.
So a long time ago. I didn't actually release that in 2008. I didn't know how to really. I
Mm,
recorded it, and I had it just sitting there for a while. And then I recorded, after that, I released an album in 2012 called Penny
mm,
Lee Songs, which actually is about, I mentioned my Granny Green and how she was a singer.
mhm,
Uh, it's a bit, the title's named Penny Songs because of an area in Glasgow where my mum's family would all meet up at auntie's house and sing.
yeah.
So that's where that came from. But when I recorded that, I wanted to release it and I got a bit of advice on how to do it. So I released it independently in 2012. And at that point, I also released the previous recordings that I had done, which is an EP called Red Shoes. And although it was recorded in 2008, I do gigs now, and people are still asking for those songs. The track Red Shoes seemed to um, resonate with a lot of people and
Mhm.
still does. So I still get asked for it quite often.
What do you think the connection is? Why are people so connected to that album? Was there something special, or what's your thoughts on that?
I think the song Red Shoes is quite. It's a really honest song um, about feelings, like
Hmm.
being like just finding things hard,
Mhm.
you know. And I think people connect to it because we all go through places where times and stages where we're just, you kind of feel as if you're kind of hitting a brick wall.
Yeah.
You're not really getting to where you want to go. You're feeling like you're stuck in a rut. And I think people connect with it because they can relate to it. So I think that's why Red Shoes seems to be one that, even though it was recorded a lifetime ago,
Mhm.
seems to still crop up and people still ask for it now. And it was the song that kind of allowed me to kind of gain a bit of a fan base where I
Mhm.
was. That was the song that kind of started off people showing an interest in my music as well.
Nice. I on a so to kind of transition into the new album, I think a lot of people are going to have that same feeling and be asking about Hollow off your new album.
Yeah.
Um, I was as I was kind of preparing for this morning after I got out of the shower and whatnot, and just kind of preparing for the interview. Um, I turned on the album on Spotify and I was just kind of listening to it as I was going about my usual like morning routine. Um, and when Hollow came on, now I had heard Hollow like 4 or 5 times before, but for whatever reason this morning, it just caught me. I was in the right place and just caught just enough attention where it was like I started like actually listening to it, and I felt it. Like I felt, I don't know if you want to call it pain, like whatever feeling you want to call it, but I felt that song and I was like, okay, this is that song right there. So
Yeah, and that's the power of music, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
um, and I think so. When I write. I mean, some songs are just storytelling,
Mhm.
because that's fun to do as well, and
Yeah.
that's part of the creative process. But a lot of my songs come from a feeling or a time or a space that I've been in personally, or something that someone close to me has experienced. And Hollow was that song. I have a friend who very suddenly lost her husband,
Hmm.
and she had two young children. And it was completely out of the blue. Like, no one, it was just a young guy, and he sadly passed away. So that Hollow is about her experience. So from the conversations we were having together
Hmm.
and, what she was kind of expressing to me, I then wrote a song and let her hear it. And it's about her experience of that loss. And again, I think that's why, because people will say to me like they really connected with a song that I've written, and I think it's because it's real life. It's things that it's emotions. It's times. It's experiences that people have. So they kind of connect with it, I think.
Yeah. I 100% agree. And it's it's that weird where I think we're in that weird part of the industry during a weird time where any song that you release could be that song. Like it's not that it's not so much that traditional music industry right now where it's like, okay, this is the song that everybody's going to like, and so this is a song we need to promote. Sometimes it's just best to put the song out when whatever you're feeling, because it's like what you connect with the most as an artist and what you feel is the most authentic representation of who you are, and you put it out, and then that's what people, they're going to either gravitate towards it or not, but they're going to enjoy it because it's an authentic representation of yourself.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to know what songs to release if you've written them. I always struggle with that. Like,
Yeah.
what songs do I promote? What songs do I release as singles?
Yeah.
Um, because when you write them, I feel as if you're too close to them to
Hmm.
really like, and especially if it's a song that really means something to you because it's been written about an
Hmm.
experience that you've had. you have a different connection to it than what other people will. So I try not to preempt what songs are going to be the ones that people connect with, because it's quite often not.
Right.
Because the way I hear my songs is different, because they take me back to a
Mhm.
time where they've helped me through something. So I find it hard to know what songs are the right songs to kind of push.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the like to kind of help navigate that struggle is what social media is for, because you could sit here and have like 4 or 5 songs you want to record. And obviously with Spotify and everything, putting out an album, not putting out an album, that's like the big debate right now. Do you put out a full album? Do you not put out a full album? Do you stay single? Stuff of that nature. And so if you're leaning more on the side of not putting out an album, you just kind of do more social, like live videos, and just kind of gauge the temperature of what people are feeling, where it's like, okay, you do a video, it's like, hey, I got this new song. Just wanted to see what you guys think. And you play it. And if they respond to it, cool. If not, okay, fine. It is what it is. But you're kind of playing an interesting game there, because it's like you're trying to predict the unpredictable. So,
Yeah.
um, so since we're on the topic of Grow, which is your latest album that dropped in January, what's the story behind this album for anybody that hasn't had a chance to listen to it yet?
So there's not a theme. Um, it wasn't, when I started recording, it wasn't, I didn't think, oh, I'll release another album. I just had a handful of songs that I thought, I want to record these because I like them, and I want a record of them.
Mhm.
So I started, so the album started off with actually Grow, which again, written from a personal experience. I was in a job that just wasn't right for me, um, and you say, oh, look, it's just a job, but actually it can impact on a lot of other aspects of your life. And I was
Mhm.
feeling like it wasn't, I just knew it wasn't right for me, although it was a really good job. Because although I do music, music's not my full-time
Mhm.
job. I do music on the side, and when I can. Uh, but I had always worked, but I knew this job was having an impact on too many aspects of my life. So I quit. I quit to having nothing. So
Mhm.
normally if I left a job, I would leave a job for another job. I
Mhm.
would always have something. And it was a moment of, I'm just going to quit. I can't, like, it's not good for me. It's not good for my health. I'm giving it up. And it was quite a daunting moment. And in doing that, I wrote the song Grow. And as I was writing other songs or revisiting, like you were saying, like going back to things that you had written previously, as I was
Mhm.
exploring notes on my phone and songs that I had written, there seemed to be this, there did seem to be like this theme kind of developing, where it was about, Grow itself is about me, like kind of stepping back and letting myself grow and become more than what I was kind of restricting myself to before.
Mhm.
Um, but then there's other songs in the album that kind of represent that kind of message as well. So I think that's why I ended up calling the whole album Grow, because it's about personal growth and
Mhm.
emotional growth. And so that's the theme, I guess, and that's why it was called Grow. But like the track Flames,
Mhm.
again, that wasn't written for me. I wrote that from a friend's perspective who had went through a tough breakup, um, and again was just trying to find herself. So that was about her growth, her
Mhm.
journey. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really proud of Grow. That song kind of, um, that really helped me through that time. So again, and that's why, like, is Grow a good song? Is that something people are going to connect to? But for me, it's like the a key song, and a song that I really like
Mhm.
because it helped me through something. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody else is going to connect with it. I hope they do.
Yeah. It's from top to bottom. Like I definitely picked up the entire theme of each individual track is a certain level of personal growth or whatever. And so that was a really interesting thing. That was like really interesting that you're instead of telling, it feels like you're almost telling 12 different stories within this album, but they're obviously all connected through one thing.
Mm.
And so that was really cool to kind of listen to 12 different stories because I'm definitely one of those music consumers that I love hearing the complete story throughout the course of an. If I'm going to sit down and invest the time to listen to a full album, I like to hear like, okay, this is complete story, but the idea of telling 12 different stories about the same thing, that was really cool.
Mm.
So, um, so you'd mentioned that you didn't set out for this to be an album, that you just had a couple of songs originally that you wanted to record. What was the like moment that you realized like, oh, hey, this needs to be like a full length thing?
So I recorded the first 4 songs. So I'd
Hmm.
recorded Grow, um, and then I had recorded Low, and then I recorded Slow, which are all rhyming words, I know. But that was the first 3 songs. I can't remember. I think the fourth one was Beautiful Chaos.
Hmm.
That ruined the theme of rhyme. But when I recorded those 4 songs, I thought, oh, wait a minute, I think I might be onto something here. Um, and then through I mean, the songs that I had originally planned to go in the album didn't actually go in the album because I write so much. So during the process of recording it, I was writing more songs as well. So there was a moment at the end where it was, I don't know what songs to put on it. And then I finally made my decision. But yeah, it was just like I kept writing, and with the songs that I was writing, I was getting really good feelings about. Like
Hmm.
I was thinking, nah, I like this. This is too good to sit. So I'll record it and see what happens. And then all of a sudden, I had a huge selection of songs, and I thought, right, well, I need to release this. I need to do something um, with it rather than just have it on the shelf.
Fair, fair, fair. It's I'm definitely glad that you decided to put this out as one piece of work. It's an amazing piece of work, and yeah, I just like to thank musicians for always being so willing to put themselves out in I don't want to say difficult positions, but or in like telling emotional stories and stuff like that, and just exposing themselves in this way as a musician is not easy, and I respect it so much. So I just wanted to thank you for putting out the album and all the music that you have. So
Well, thank you. It's only worth it when people actually can listen to it as well.
mhm.
So, the fact that I'm in Scotland and you're, just outside Texas, in
I
Texas.
mean, I'm in Texas, so yeah,
So, that's quite a distance for
yeah,
music to travel.
yeah. It is. And honestly, it's such a weird thing because had the pandemic not happened, I'd probably just be interviewing people in Texas right now. Like that's literally like the pandemic forced us to do some things that we weren't wanting to do originally. And now it's like I've been introduced to so many different musicians. Yeah, it's crazy kind of how life works out. And yeah,
Yeah. Well, a
so
lot of it was a difficult time, and actually, I quit my job during the pandemic as well.
oh yeah.
And had the pandemic not happened, I don't think I would have quit.
Mm,
So I think, although the impact of COVID and everything was horrendous and caused a lot of pain and stress and troubles,
mhm,
um, for some people, I think it did help them maybe find themselves or discover something new or have the courage to. They were put in a position where it was kind of like, well, okay, I can do something now. I've got time to do something now, or I have to do something different now.
Hmm.
And I think for a lot of people, I think it maybe got them to a better place than what they might have still been in.
Hmm. I think it made people stronger
Yeah.
is one of the things I've picked up on, because I can't tell you how many people were afraid, like stressed out at their jobs and afraid to quit their jobs. And then the pandemic happens. And then they're like, you know what? I don't need this. I'm going to go do what I want to do.
Mhm.
And they either quit their jobs or they, um, I guess got fired, because at that point, at least here in the States, there was a lot of layoffs going on. Um, but I think it made people stronger.
Yeah.
Um, so now that Grow is out, it's been out for coming up on 6 weeks, or just about 6 weeks. Yeah,
I'll go with that. It came out
yeah,
on January the 9th.
yeah. So it's been out for about 6 weeks now. What's been the reception? What's kind of running through your mind now that the album's been out and like really starting to gain traction and stuff?
Yeah, so it's been great. It's been getting lots of airplay. I get reports to see what countries it's been um like streamed in or
Mhm.
Shazammed in and things like that. Uh, and it seems to be quite widespread, which is really nice. Like when again, like I'm an independent musician, so like
Mhm.
um when people outside my own friendship group, family, or community hear my music, I always find it quite exciting. But when it's in a country that I've never even been to, or a place that I've never actually really heard of, I I, I just think that's incredible that that's happened. So it's getting lots of radio play. It's had a few really reassuring reviews. Um, which has been nice as well. And again, so the song that seems to be getting the most kind of positive comment, or the one that seems to be coming back to me, is a track called San Francisco.
Mhm.
And that was a last minute addition.
Really?
That one, yeah. Um, and although I liked it, it was one of those ones. Did I put it on? Did I keep it off? I don't know what to do with that, because I wrote it really late on in the album as well. So it was like one of the last ones to record.
Hmm.
Um, and I stuck it on there, and I'm glad I did, because it seems to be, I don't know what it is about it, but it's the one. I really liked San Francisco, and that message just kept coming back to me.
Nice.
So yeah, so it's been getting um, a lot of good press,
Mhm.
and I'm going to be doing an album showcase in Glasgow in April. So
Gotcha.
so that'll be nice. A full band gig, which I don't do very often as well. So it's yeah, it's all very exciting.
Nice. That's really cool. Well, let's talk about that for a second. The San Francisco. Now, you said you didn't know what it was about it. You don't know what it is about the song that people are gravitated towards, or you don't know what it is about the song that you were on the fence about putting it on the album.
I think because I had so many other songs, it was just like, is that the right one for the album? Does it
Mm.
fit in with the album? Um, but there was, again, for me, there was something just kept coming back. I think it was maybe the bridge that I just kept coming back to, and I thought, all
Mm.
right, I'll put that on. But I'm not sure what it is that people are hearing in it that's making it the kind of, for them, the standout track in the album. And that's why I said at the start, like I never really know what songs are the ones, the right ones, the
Yeah.
right, if there is a right song.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's something about it that seems to, I don't know, connect with people, or make them like kind of, oh,
Hmm.
what's that? Um,
Yeah.
so
Fair, fair. It's that weird. weird conversation to have. Like we talked about, like there's no way to ever really know what's going to hit and what isn't going to hit. You know, I remember growing up, I watched like an interview with John Bon Jovi, and he was talking about when he was producing the record for that has "Living on a Prayer" on it. Wasn't he didn't want to put it on that album because he didn't think it was good enough or didn't fit the album. But there's a couple of people that were like persistent that he put it out, and it became one of his biggest songs ever. And so it's just like you never know. Like that song that's sitting in your back pocket right now that you're just like, man, this it just doesn't work. I don't think it works. That could be the one that just breaks through. You just never know.
Yeah, it was. So I quite like the lyric of the song. So again, so some I said some songs are like have personal meaning or have been inspired by a friend or a family member. San Francisco is one of those ones that's just storytelling. So it's just a storytelling track. Um, but I liked I liked the lyric, and I
Mm-hmm.
think the lyric that maybe was the reason why it went on to the album.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, it's yeah, it's I don't know. Like I've heard San Francisco a few times. I can't quite put my finger on it either for you. So I wish I could sit here and give you like, oh, this is what I was drawn to, and you know, I don't quite know what it is either. But if I figure it out, I'll let you know. If I can pinpoint that idea of what it is that draws me to the song, I'll let you know. But you know, I kind of consume music in a different way because I tend to give music the attention test where I'll put it on in the background, and if it draws my attention, gets me to stop what I'm doing. This is a conversation I had last night on the podcast. Was they were talking about how they love playing farmers markets, and I was like, that's actually a really good idea because it gives you like that attention test because you can get people to stop what they're doing to pay attention to you. Because going to a farmer's market, you don't go there to listen to music, you go there to buy produce and all this stuff. But if you can get people to stop and listen to what you're doing, that's a good attention test. And I kind of play the same game with music when I'm listening. So, like, I'll be doing something else like throughout the day. And if that song can grab me, to stop what I'm doing, be like, okay, let's restart that song over and actually like, you know, do it. And that's what I was telling you about Hollow and all that stuff. But yeah, if I'll let you know if I find something out.
Yeah.
So, um, so kind of looking forward, how often are you playing shows right now? Are you playing pretty consistently or?
So I play at least once a month. So I'm not out every night or every weekend. As I
Mhm,
said, I've got a young family now, and music's my part time, my thing on the
mhm,
side.
mhm.
So I have a residency in so there's an area of Scotland just outside Glasgow called Loch Lomond. Don't know if you've heard of it. It's very
Yep.
beautiful. Lots of lochs. Well, I don't know if you know what a loch is, like a river.
Okay,
A
gotcha.
we call it a loch, and lots of hills and very scenic and very beautiful. And it's popular with tourists.
Mhm.
So there's a hotel there called the Inn on Loch Lomond, and I play there once a month.
Nice.
But I do that, and then some music nights in Glasgow I'll go along to, uh, and then I've got this album showcase coming up, and then we'll see what that leads to. Um, but yeah, so I'm consistent enough with performing,
Yeah.
um, and I well as I can fit it in.
Yeah, fair enough. What's the independent scene like in Glasgow? Is there a pretty heavy scene there, or what have you noticed?
Yeah, so again, I've been on the unsigned music scene for a long time. Glasgow's great. There's a real sense of a community. Like
Mm-hmm.
you kind of you get to know everybody, and it's all very supportive and connected, and um, it's a really nice place to do music, and there's lots of music on and around, um, and like really great nights that are available for musicians to go to. I lived in London for a while. I lived in London for 8 years, and the music scene there was very exciting. But and you got to know certain, like a few people you would, but it didn't seem to have the real sense of community
Mm.
that Glasgow seems to have.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because I'm from Glasgow and I've got a special bond with it, perhaps. But there is a real sense of community in the nights and afternoons that are put on, um, are just great. They really are.
Yeah. It's a, I've seen some like some video, like performance videos pop up on my YouTube and Instagram of people playing in, like, just doing live, like busking almost, I guess is the best way to kind of say it. And I'm pretty sure most of it's in Glasgow. I'm not 100% sure because now that I'm bringing it up, I'm like, wait a minute, is that in Scotland? I can't remember now. But it seems like just the UK in general, like you were saying, has a really cool scene, and then Glasgow, that it's really refreshing to hear that you guys got a real community there because um now I don't know like the population of Glasgow, but in a big city, you kind of tend to fall the way of London, where it's like you'll run into pockets of like a community because it's such a big city, like London's such a big city and it's more of a transient city where people move there, they come through, they leave, so it's not really the community's there, but it's in like pockets where it's like, okay, we're South London, we've got our own little thing going
Yeah.
on. So it's cool that Glasgow's kind of got its like a city community that's like really supportive of each other.
Yeah, I think the music, a lot of the music nights as well are very relaxed. So people do just go up and play together. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like a jam or like busking along to whoever's playing, which is really nice. Because what sometimes happens is I don't know if they do this in the States, but it's like pay to play.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to play music, then they'll give you like 50 tickets. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't sell your 50 tickets, they still want the money for the 50 tickets. So you end up, like, say you've got 50 tickets, you sell 30 of them, you still need to pay the venue or the promoter for the 50 tickets. So you're out of pocket.
Yeah.
Um, and there was a lot of that in London, especially when I first went there. That was the kind of, if you want to play, then that's what you need to do, and you can't have another gig for 4 weeks before or after this gig,
Yeah.
and like just trying to restrict you a little bit, whereas in Glasgow there doesn't seem to be as much of that, and a lot of venues actually have said if the promoter tries to do pay to play, then they're like they won't entertain that. That's not
Yeah.
allowed, because that it's not a fair it's not a fair process. And I think unsigned musicians
Mm-hmm.
um, have a really hard time. It's so undervalued because people think, oh, well, why are we paying for why are we paying for music? Um, so like a lot of the time you're not getting paid to play,
Mm-hmm.
um, and but we don't do it for that. We do it because we enjoy doing it. But there's a freedom in Glasgow with it where it's just very laid back, and people are just there to enjoy the music, not to make money and not to become something. It's just because we enjoy playing and making
Mm-hmm.
music together.
Yeah. The whole pay to play thing is a huge debate. Like my buddy Jeff and I, Jeff helped me launch Live and Amplified, and he's still very involved to today. But we have this conversation all the time about the whole pay to play thing. Now I know, like out on the West Coast in California, LA, and that area, that's a very huge thing where it's like, oh, you want to play, you got to like, and it's not. oh, you got to go sell tickets. And if you don't sell the tickets, you're out. You have to pay us for that. It's you literally have to pay. Oh, our stage, we bring in 700 people a night. We want $1,000 to play. You know, like it's an actual pay to play. And that obviously that I don't play with that. And then I've seen it where like some festivals, they'll book a band and they'll give them 10, 15 tickets and say, okay, you can keep these and use these, or you can sell these, and whatever you get, that's the money that's your payment. So if the tickets retail for $50 or whatever, and you've got 10 of them, 12 of them, okay, that's $500, $600. So, that kind of makes sense. Like that logic works. And then I've also like there's a place I lived out in New Mexico for a while, and there was a little place in New Mexico where I lived that it wasn't pay to play, but if you couldn't help sell tickets, the chances of you getting booked again weren't really good. Like he'd come in and say, okay, we've got Saliva, or like insert any big band. We're going to bring in this local opener, and we want you to sell 25 tickets. Like, you don't we want to see if you could sell 25 tickets. And so if they could sell it, cool, they'd probably get invited back. If they couldn't, probably be a little bit before they could come back. So, there's different ways to do it, but the whole like straight up pay to hit my stage, it's like, no,
Yeah.
get out of here.
It's a hard one because like they're wanting to get people into their venue, and
Mm-hmm.
you want to introduce yourself um to a new audience. And what tends to happen is you're just selling tickets to family and friends a lot of the
Yeah.
time, especially when you're just starting out. It's like, and there's only so many times you can ask family and friends to kind of fork out to come and to come and
Right.
see you. I
Yeah.
think for people just starting out, it's particularly difficult. I don't have a solution, but I'm sure there is one somewhere.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Um, so as we kind of start wrapping this up, outside of music, what are some of what do you do kind of outside of music and outside of work just to kind of decompress, or is music the decompression from work?
Music is my decompression. So yeah, so music's my thing. I enjoy a little bit of tennis. Um,
Nice.
like not any good, but I enjoy a bit of tennis. And I've got a dog, so I go on dog walks. That
Nice.
that that helps. That helps, relieve stresses and strains. But music's my music's my therapy, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, um, it's what I'm drawn to. It's what if there's things on my mind, happy things, sad things, whatever, any emotions, I express it through music and through writing. So, yeah, music's my main outlet.
Fair. Fair. Do you think that expression is the draw to music, your ability to express all these emotions, or what do you think the draw to music is for you?
Oh, um, I don't know. Do you know I've kind of been, as I said, I've been writing since a really young child and have had a love for music for as long as I can remember.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't really know. I think, um, I think if I wasn't writing music, I would still be very much immersed in it.
Mhm.
Um, but no, I think because even if I'm not writing, like I just love singing and I love
Mhm.
playing, and um, I probably do it too much.
Fair. It's always an interesting question to ask when you can tell music is kind of like breathing. You've been doing it for so long, you don't really, not that you don't know why, but you can't pinpoint one little thing that's like, okay, this is why I love doing what I do.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, people, because sometimes people will ask me about my songwriting process as
mhm.
well. Um, And it's not that I don't think about what I'm writing or think about what I'm creating, but it's probably the most free I am is
Mhm.
when I'm writing. It's not, I don't ever, I've never forced myself to write a song. I think if I was to try to, I probably wouldn't come up with much at all. Um, but I find it just so free and easy, and it it just comes. So there's not much of a, so I was going to say there's not much of a thought process behind it, when there is. There's obviously a certain bit of thought, like,
Mhm.
structure and um flow and that. But in terms of, yeah, I mean, music's just, it feels natural. It feels like something that I kind of have to do,
Mhm.
like.
Fair. Very fair. Very, very fair. Um, so for anybody that wants to check out Grow or any of your other music, or just interact with you on social or any of that stuff, where's the best place to find you?
So I am on all the socials. So my music, you can stream it off of any
Mhm.
streaming service. It's on everything. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I'm probably most active on Instagram. So that's Emma Jane Instagram. I like to keep it simple.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, so I'm probably most active on Instagram. But if you're looking for links to my other socials that I don't really know, um, I have a web page, so that's emmajaneofficial.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining us. I really,
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. It's been a it's really cool conversation, and I've enjoyed it so much. And you're welcome back on anytime. So we'll
Thank you.
kind of stay in contact. Um, and for anybody that's listening to this on Spotify, the Emma Jane's Spotify link and her website will be in the description, so you can listen to all her music, interact with her on socials, all that fun stuff. And but yeah, once again, thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch y'all later.